Hello, good morning, and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily. I'm Ayo Makinde. Now, I don't know what the weather is, what the weatherman is saying in your neck of the woods, but right here in Lagos, it is 23 degrees, and we're hearing it promises excessive heat in the course of the day. So, perhaps that means you have to take some precaution. Well, is it okay to say congratulations to the Super Eagles? Yes, because that was a heaven of a fight. No, I don't use that other word. That was a beautiful one by the Super Eagles. They put all of their hearts and minds into it. First 90 minutes, and then extra time, and then penalty. Once it gets to penalty, forget it. Anyone can win. No one ever really gets it right, with that one. So nothing to regret, really. We will still have to celebrate that team because that's an exceptional team that Nigeria put up. And I also noticed in the highlights that I watched, thank you very much, that it was a very balanced, right? A very balanced match altogether. So yes, there is that to celebrate. And again, I say congratulations to the Super Eagles and congratulations to Nigeria. I mean, through it all. But that's not all. I mean, that was a semi-final match, so I guess the third place play is still there for us to consider. Well, while I'm waiting for my colleague Marco to join us in the conversation, there is that agreement. Of course, you have also seen it on our program, the morning brief this morning, when the federal government and ASUU have kind of abrogated the 2009 agreement, and they now have a new one, 2026 agreement. How that's going to go, I guess the coming days will see. Good morning, Markwe. Well, for some reason, Markwe, we can't hear you yet. I want to believe that that's being resolved right now. Well, for those of you who may have heard her, she spoke briefly about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. And what we understand as far as that issue is concerned is that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day was to have started on January 9, Friday, with a Jumat service at the National Mosque in Abuja, a Thanksgiving service to follow on the 11th day. But we understand that there was a dinner yesterday, a gala, and award night at the banquet hall of the presidential villa. Took place yesterday. Marquette will tell us a little more about that when she comes on. And today is the national wreath-laying ceremony at the National Arcade in Abuja, and simultaneously in state capitals all across the country. That, is definitely something to cheer, and it's the reason that all of us can sleep with our two eyes closed, because some people are paying the ultimate price. So once again, I wish I could stand to do this, to say thank you to the security apparatus in Nigeria. Particularly today, we celebrate the armed forces of the Federal Republic of the country. Thank you for all you do, and we pray that God bless you. So earlier I was talking about the ASUU agreement, FG ASUU, new FG ASUU agreement. And what we have come to understand is that now there's a whole new agreement between the federal government and the ASUU, the Academic Staff Union of Universities. Marco, I believe we should be able to hear you better now.
Oh, well, apologies for that technical glitch there. Due to unforeseen circumstances, I want to believe you can. Indeed, good morning and welcome once again to Sunrise Daily, at least from this side of the country in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Quite a lot that you have been saying, Ayo. It's very interesting how communication works. I could hear you all the time, and even though I could hear you and I was speaking, you couldn't hear me. And that's how you know that communication, for it to really work, has to be two-sided. And it's great to see that federal government and ASUU have made communication work with this landmark deal. So while it was that Nigerians were a little sad, because I'll say little, because we saw the effort that our team put in. And we'll be going to discuss that in just a moment. We saw the, the zeal, the patriotism, the enthusiasm that they really put into it. Unfortunately, the game went into penalties, and we lost out on penalties. That's to tell you just how much time we put into that. Getting the view expert, somebody who has also spent his time, playing internationally for Nigeria, what he makes of that match, and how it eventually went in his own assessment. But while Nigerians were still trying to be, well, we're still a little sad on that particular issue, or maybe very sad, because a lot of people invest their emotions into this. When you hear billionaires saying, look, if you guys win this game, I promise you that you're going to get $1 million. You know that there is so much more. They're willing to put their money where their mouth is. But it didn't quite pan out like that. While we're still doing that, we heard this very cheery news, and we've heard the president of ASUU, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, praise this new deal that they have been able to seal with the federal government, a new 2025 agreement ending a 16-year renegotiation stalemate. They've approved a 40% pay rise for Nigeria's lecturers in their tertiary institutions. So this is certainly something to share. A lot of people might not have seen it coming. We're hoping that this will end years and years of strike, particularly on this 2009 agreement. So there's a very, very interesting balance. I was also trying to highlight the fact that any moment from now, we should be seeing the Remembrance Day going on for fallen heroes at Nigeria, at the cenotaph just happening right opposite the Eagles Square at 10 a.m. this morning. I'll be seeing top government functionaries led by the president, or at least the vice president, in the ceremony. So quite a lot to look at for you on this program. But speaking about fallen heroes, just as this was approaching, the Nigeria-Morocco match was approaching, and we heard that pledge of $1 million by the president of Boa Group. Somebody said, look, Nigerian heroes go out, our soldiers are on the war front every day, and nobody ever promises anybody $1 million if you win a war. Why is it that we tend to forget those people and yet invest so much in our football? I do hope that as time goes on, we will be able to pay attention, not abandon one for the other, but pay attention to the fact that some people's lives, this is not a question of, this glory for the country. Glory for the country, yes, when we win a match, it's wonderful and it's beautiful. But some people, this emblem is more than just an emblem. It's honoring the sacrifice that some people have paid, the ultimate sacrifice for God and country, honoring their fatherland. But let's not take anything away from that now, and also the sacrifice that our boys put, in the match yesterday. We're joined this morning by who is former Nigerian international, former goalkeeper for the Super Eagles. I'm sure that you had high hopes for today. I know that you must have watched, scrutinizing everything, your heart in your mouth, your heart pounding, and saying, Super Eagles, you can do this, you can do this. But at the end of the day, it was 4-2 on penalties. How were you able to see the match through? I want to believe that at some point your heart starts to pound in such a way that you say, am I not getting too old for this? Do you ever get too old for it?
Exactly. Even though you played, at a point you begin to think. I told my friends who were all watching the game, I said, I feel some pain in my heart. I don't know, is it normal? They say, go and drink water. It's quite unfortunate. Okay, but we have to start by saying congratulations to the boys. No one gave them a chance. They raised our hope. We began to believe. Remember, we didn't qualify for the World Cup, and it dampened everyone's spirit. But after they won the first game, second game, third game, we started watching them again and started believing again. And it was difficult. We knew it was. I want to say something that might not be very correct, You know, immediately I saw Senegal win, I knew we were in trouble. Somehow, immediately Senegal won, and I turned and spoke to my friends. I said, this is an Arab land. One Arab country would play in the finals. They will not allow two West African countries to play in the finals. These things happen in football. And we all saw it with the referee yesterday. You know, there's something they call in football stop and kill. That stop and kill is that you stop actions before they happen. You delay actions, and no one will know you're cheating, but that's what they're doing. And so it was quite unfortunate yesterday that these boys gave everything, and I want to congratulate them. Just that they missed a point of being called heroes. You were just mentioning about war heroes. I've never seen any politician that is called a hero. It's either a sportsman or a military man. And if a sportsman, you must win a medal before they call you a hero. I think that's what they missed yesterday.
Oh dear, was to be very disappointed. That's very interesting. So when you speak about these subtle manipulations, though, at what point would you say you began to see that?
Well, we knew, you know, we're in this game. You could say, the winners were saying, why did the referee do like this? You would say it happens every time. And Morocco's not won this competition for 30 years. They're number one in Africa. They played the semifinals at the World Cup. They've invested millions and millions on infrastructure, on their sports. They pay their women league. They pay every girl child playing football in Morocco $300 every month. That's from outside the club. The FA pays these girls, so they want them to come and play. They've invested so much in their sports that they need to see results. And I pity them. I want them to win, not obviously against us. But you know, these things happen. These things they're subtle, like you said. Nobody mentions them. But we know these things happen. Like I said, immediately with Senegal qualified, I knew they would have an Arab country in the finals. And we also, where he would flash a yellow card. This yellow card is a caution. And once it cautions you, a player that will come in for a tackle will withdraw. If he gives you a corner kick, instead of giving you a corner kick, he says it's a goal kick. It cuts your ability to score. Little things like this happen. And the referee was absolutely so poor that in my African sports group where the condemnation is out of this world, everyone knows that he gave Morocco the advantage. But for the boys, you know, we can't crucify this team. We didn't have a belief on them. We never expected, nobody even cared about the AFCON because we didn't qualify for the World Cup, but they gave us hope. And I think they did well, you know, with all the circumstances and all the whole backlash about payment of match bonuses. We can't be hearing such things at this age of our football. You know, we're asking, when you talk to the NFF will point at the government. You talk to the government people will say, these your people are not serious. So we're in a catch-22. We don't know where to blame, whom to blame, and it's a problem.
I'm sure sometimes you're just still shaking your head like, you mean we're still here? we're still talking match bonuses. You know, which day are we going to be out of this? But back to the match yesterday, we did know. I mean, I remember speaking with my colleague, you know, a quick preview of what we were to expect, and he was telling me that his own prediction was that we're going to get to penalties. He did believe. As a matter of fact, another analyst whom we had spoken with, a sports journalist for over 30 years, Mr. Awurimba, was telling me about how his one prediction was that the match was going to be about 1-0 or 2-1, as the case might be, but that we had to play it within the 90 minutes or extra time. That if it went into penalties, we were in trouble. That was his own prediction. My colleague was also saying that, he was saying the same thing yesterday as well, that they were really afraid of the game getting to penalties. And sadly, or will I say bravely, you know, the game eventually got to that place. But we did know that we had quite a number of opponents. First, we're playing the host nation. And
Yeah.
as you rightly said, they, how do I put it now? They have invested. They have invested over the years consistently, structurally, in a way that made them a formidable team. I watched the game between Morocco and Cameroon, and I knew that I was praying in my mind that, Lord, let this not be an opponent that we have, because I looked around that stadium and it was very hard to see any Cameroonian flag anywhere because they were dominant in the stand. So you're playing a host team that we're going to, and I understand we're playing in the city of the king, Rabat, where the king lives. You know, there were all manner of significances around it. And then my colleague said something yesterday. He said, we're also going to be playing against the officials. And I said, what do you mean by we're playing against the officials? He said, well, in this particular type of game, you will play against the, you're going to be playing against the officials. So these were the opponents, it would seem, that were stacked up against us. I think a lot of Nigerians were making jokes about how, oh, you have South Africans and Ghanaians as our officials, then maybe we need to go and, you know, say, we need to say other types of prayers. They really felt that the game was already jinxed. You know, things were not lined up in our favor. But from what you saw yesterday, psychologically, in spite of all that, you know, because some people said that game was a game of psychology. The Moroccans were going to come in very dominant at the stands, even within the field of play. From what you saw yesterday, how psychologically prepared would you say we were to be able to take on all of these opponents and, you know, still give the sort of output? Yes, we didn't win, that's fine, but we didn't seem to also cower in defeat even before we played the game.
Yeah, we actually didn't lose the game. I would say that. You know, of the 5 games we played in this tournament, we didn't lose any. We didn't lose any. So credit to the boys. When you say you lost by penalties, yes, you lost the game, but you did not lose the match. Yeah, I must give kudos to these boys. Like again, I said, I didn't give them a chance. When they got to this AFCON, a whole lot of things changed. I don't know what changed. I think most of them were saying, we've played 2 AFCONs, 3 AFCONs, we need to redeem our image because they didn't go to the World Cup. So somehow they wanted to play. And I've always said it, anytime the Nigerian team wants to play, they play. Okay, talking about everything against them, yes, they would have been prepped. They would have been prepared. You know you're playing away from home. You've already seen it. You know, as you're driving into the stadium, people will be raising their hands 5-0, 4-0. Psychologically, they will torment you. But these are professionals. And if you know why players always wear earbuds when they are coming down from the buses or entering the dressing room or even coming out to warm up, you always see them with earbuds. You just shut out the noise and play your favorite music. You don't hear anything. And it just goes to psych you up to say, I'm here for this and I'm here for this purpose. Again, this team has done well. You know, I looked at them and said, this team should be at the World Cup. If we had won this AFCON, I would have begged FIFA, say, please, just manage us at the World Cup. We're good enough to be there. Again, kudos must go to the coach. You know, he took this team when the spirit was so low. You know, he has raised the team. I hear he wants to go to Tunisia. And a friend asked me, will he go to Tunisia? I said, yes. He's a businessman. And then they've offered him $100,000 per month. And not just that, he will make a name. And that name would be being a coach of a World Cup side. You know, it's the highest level of coaching anywhere in the world that you coach a team to the World Cup. So I think he would go if the offer we're hearing is good. And it brings us back to where we first started. We have to restructure our football. We have to restructure our NFF. It cannot be politics. The politics in the NFF is too much. It has to be strictly football. Do the right thing, get the right deals, get the right sponsors. Then you don't always have to run to government. Government wants to get involved, whether you like it or not. Because if the team is playing well, Nigeria is doing well, somebody said to me yesterday, and he said, do you know even the bandits are watching the game? The bandits. There will be no kidnapping this night. They will have their television. There will be no kidnapping. But if you don't win, anybody they see, they will carry. That's how much football means to us. So the government wants to get involved. They shouldn't get involved. It should be an independent. Our national team should be well funded. look for sponsors. Then you can manage what you have. You look at the number of people that travel. You know, I got the details, got pictures, and it was quite sad that we are still at this level of planning in our football and doing what we're doing. We hope that change will come very soon.
All right, I know Ayo, has a question for you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, Mr. Peter's side, with your own confession as well, that you are feeling a kind of pain in your heart, is it normal? It is normal. That is why I have been avoiding watching live football myself. But the first question that I wanted to ask you is, I mean, try for a brief moment to put yourself in the place of the goalkeeper yesterday. Let's help us get into his head. How do you think he must have felt? Particularly, just so we try to understand the emotions that must have informed some of his choices.
Goalkeeping, it's risky. When I was keeping, I had a coach, some Yoruba chap when I was in secondary school that taught me the act of penalty saving, and I was one of the best. In humility, I say that. He had a style which he taught us. Then during the World Cup in 1992, we had a goalkeeper called Pelugia, not Pelugia, because I was a goalkeeper, I followed them. And Pelugia said this. So they asked him, how do you deal with penalties? And he said, I create my own luck. And they asked him, what do you do? It's quite different. So he says, every time there's a penalty, he decides to go one way 5 times. 1 way 5 times. That's his own psychology. He says, I go 1 way 5 times. So if you play the first one, I go to the left. You come to the second time, I go to the left. He says, something will tell you, go to the left. He's been going to the left. So he says, if you bring it to the left, I save it. So he had that kind of mentality that he'll go 5 times. So most times, twice, they'll bring the ball to his left and he will be a hero. He will save twice. The act of goalkeeping is an act. It's an act. It depends on how you are trained. It depends on what discussion. Sometimes I saw Wabali going to talk to the coach, and he opened the computer. So I'm like, okay, do they have the records of where these players have been playing their penalty? Every player that plays a penalty and scores in his previous match or 2 games behind will always put the ball there because he knows he scored, and his sidekick will tell him, you always score on this side. That is why you see in European football now, you see the goalkeeper has a list of where the players 3 penalties ago, 4 penalties ago, out of 4, you play 3 to the right or 2 to the left. And you decide, okay, if you play 3 to the left, I will go to the left side. So it's a gamble. If it favors you, then you become the hero of the game.
Interesting. So now, with the experience that we have had now, you've also said something about the need for us to restructure our football, and that's a bit touching. Now, what is missing? The challenge is not whether or not we have good players. The challenge that you're speaking to is the infrastructure, soft infrastructure that has governed our sports over the years. Now we see that the Institute of Sports, Nigerian Institute of Sports, is becoming a little more active recently. I won't forget Youth Fund, the Youth Sports Federation of Nigeria, and the feat they pulled in 1987. Now, are those the things that we need? What is it that is missing that maybe we probably lost from those heydays of the Abiola Babes, Leventis United, and the rest of them that we lost, that we need to get back to if we want to remain prime and all the time?
Great question. I had a chat with Diko. We contested the elections together to be president of NFF together. The problem we have now is that nobody gives any management time. Whether you are a politician or you're a governor, nobody gives you time. Everybody wants immediate results. So what do you do in getting this? You must make noise for people to know you're working. How do you do that? You have to involve the FA president. And I said this during my campaign. You have presidents or FA chairmen around the states. The people need to know that this is where you're going. And the monies that come in, it's not for you to chop it or eat it. It has to be visible. You hear our president is even saying now, oh, they stop subsidy and they're giving governors money. What is he trying to say? He said, don't blame me, go to the governors. They are the ones with the money. So you need to do that. Go to the FA chairman, give them money, and say, produce players for us. Produce people for you. They have structures in local governments and in states. Produce these players for us. Then you have NFF coaches that are just sitting there and doing nothing. You send them to zones. You need to send them to zones and say, go to this zone, go to this zone, take 3 months there. When you come out from this zone, we want to see things happening. We want to see players being raised. Now, it is not the responsibility of the NFF to have infrastructures. That's the responsibility of the government. The government must provide infrastructures. NFF can build stadiums. The states must provide infrastructures. Now, when they have these infrastructures, it helps them raise local players or local talents. You don't come to the national team to learn how to pass the ball, to head the ball. You must come prepared. When I got to the national team to play for Nigeria, I played for a team like Rangers. I played for Eimba. I played for Iwayawu in those days. I played for Sharks. So I knew the rudiments of the game. All they did that was to hone my talents. You're not doing it well here. You're not doing it well there. And you're playing with more professionals that will help enhance your game. So we must go back to this grassroots. But the NFF must be seen as getting involved there. Now, imagine what will happen if you give responsibility to this chairman of FAs and you send zonal coordinators, go find talents for us. This is where you find them. And when you find them, you now sublet them to the main body. You have national team coaches. And they spend time. I stayed in Otakam, Otabasanjo Otakam. I lived in Obasanjo camp for 8 months, 7 months, 8 months. I would leave my team after the game on Saturday. On Sunday, he must report to camp. I would leave my team. I used to play for Rangers there. Then I would go to Otakam. All our colleagues were coming from me. We used to use night bus. We would get there. I remember my allowance was 20 naira every day. You get there, you start training Monday evening because now they've chosen you from your local club. They want you to fit into, it was Clemens Westhoff and Christian Chuku, they wanted you to fit into the pattern. And on Friday, they will give you transport for Friday. Anywhere your team is playing, Obomosho, Kwara, they'll give you transport fare to go join your team. Because the coaches know you are coming from an advanced level of training. So they will not bother whether you've trained or not. And you come and play for your club side, and everyone will see. You're coming from the national team, your boot is new, your T-shirts are smelling like gold. There's something about it that you're coming from the Super Eagles. Therefore, all the other players aspire to go play for Nigeria. I will never forget this. The first day I had the cap, Nigeria versus Ethiopia. They were singing the national team, I was weeping. I was crying. I said, Daddy, can you see me here? You know, we don't have this anymore. The desire to want to play for the country is gone. Why? Because we don't put value anymore on the national team. We are like, you know, you just wake up one morning, oh, there's Lukman in Europe. There's this player in Turkey. Therefore, you neglect what you have. And all these players here that are gifted are frustrated because they know no matter how much they push, they can never be called. They will never replace those guys that are out there. So it takes a lot of desire and planning.
Well, we can only hope for the best, you know, Bishop, because over time we've
just the match yesterday was just a match, you know. It was not any kind of match. Yes, we're not going to come home with a medal.
But it wasn't just a match.
It's okay. But what we're hoping is
it wasn't just a match. When you play for the national team, we don't just call it a match. It's war. It's two nations going to war. Therefore, it's either you kill or you are killed. You know, so sometimes when people begin to blame players for the way they behave, their character, the way they react, You need to go, you need to know this is war. Go shoot your opponent down, go kill your opponent and get the results.
Your perspectives this morning, hoping that things will get better over time. Peter Saidida is a former Nigerian international and former goalkeeper of the Super Eagles. Thank you again for your time. Now, when we return, it's another issue to look at, but this time just to hobnob on a number of things that have happened in the course of the week. Do stay with us.
Well, yes, quite a lot to continue to think about in terms of developing our football and taking us to that place where we'll eventually be able to say we're not just dominant in play, we're also dominant in structure. But we're changing gear now, and we're taking a look at a number of other things, a number of other developments that have now come up. We saw yesterday the American government come up with new visa rules, especially that has to do with immigration. Putting a blank, or will I say a stop, or is it a pause of some sort, on 72 countries for immigration visa. And then this is amidst this new controversy where Nigeria is supposed to be given or engaging a new PR firm. People issued what it is if so quite a number of questions being raised. We also have this issue of federal government and ASUU reaching this landmark event. It's not all bad news. This is one good news that at least perhaps we can start with. We have Mr. Laolu Akonde joining us now, a former presidential aide, and also the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources. Mr. Akonde, it's good to see you.
Good morning.
On the program. I'm sure that whilst you must have been, you know, thinking of how to handle the disappointment of the match yesterday, this particular story must have hit you as some pleasant surprise. Oh,
the agreement with ASUU
and the federal government.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, it's good news. I like the fact that we seem to have turned the corner, you know, away from incessant strikes, you know, which somebody was saying this morning. I think it was Mr. Jeffrey, that altogether it took about 4 years. If you look at the number of times that universities, I mean, that's ridiculous, you know. So we must give kudos to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know, and his minister, Dr. Tunji Alausa, for, you know, and of course, you know, Yayale Ahmed, you know, who also coordinated the talks, you know, for bringing us to this very important situation where there is mutual understanding between university teachers and the federal government. So you're right, it's a bit of good news, and I hope that the federal government will continue to carry along all the varsity workers, you know, whether they are professors, lecturers, even CONUA, the new Congress of Nigerian University Academics, the non-academic staff, to ensure that this agreement is something that holds firmly, because we need stability in our varsities. And so yeah, it's time to cheer. Cheers and kudos to the president and kudos to Alausa.
Well, they reached this agreement. I sincerely hope that they fulfill it. It wasn't kept. I want that we able to go something that we all can, as they say.
It's in the eating.
It's in the eating. So we'll wait and see. But this is a story that we heard yesterday. That Nigeria has hired a United States lobbying and public affairs firm in a $9 million contract to communicate its security efforts and response to violence affecting Christian communities to policymakers in Washington. I mean, a lot of people have been wondering, what exactly is this about? They've been talked about what exactly does lobbying You know, when I was looking at social media, that's one of the things I saw, the emphasis on lobbying. Is this a coded word for what you talk about a lot here, bribes? Or is this... But give us your own impression. When you heard the story, what did you make of it?
Well, just to explain, like you hinted, the idea of lobbying in the American presidential system is actually a regular, normal thing that happens in Washington, D.C. a lot. So you have a lot of interest, essentially mostly domestic, but there are also a few international lobbyists who are trying to get a point of view across to members of Congress, to members of the U.S. government, and all of that, and if you look at it historically, this is something that used to happen a lot under military rule, because the military governments are the ones that have problem of legitimacy, and normally being criticized globally, because it's not elected, it's dictatorship, So you will have a Babangida, you have a Abacha, and all those guys trying to spend a lot of money paying U.S. lobbyists to, tell their own side of the story. Now, when you have a democratic government, doing this, and I don't think it's just Tinubu government that have done it. I imagine this must have been done previously. I think it sends a different signal altogether, because you have your embassies, and your government is a legitimate government. You are elected by the people. You shouldn't have to go through that kind of approach to tell your story. And it comes back to what has become quite a burden when you think about it. The fact that we didn't have ambassadors. Up to now, we don't have ambassadors in Washington, D.C., no ambassador in New York. Now, some of the reasons that was given by the Foreign Affairs Minister was that there wasn't money. But guess what? We have money to pay $9 million to some cool Americans, just making $750,000 a month, to hold, to have maybe tea or lunch with a congressman or a state or a State Department official about Nigeria, when we don't have ambassadors on the ground for reasons of the money is too much. It just tells you that there's a bit of disorganization, that is going on. And like I always say, I'm just stunned, that a professional like our president is going to be tolerating all this kind of shenanigans.
I've seen the statement issued by the People's Democratic Party. They say this revelation is as disturbing as it is shameful that a government with a full Ministry of Information and a litany of media aides will be paying a foreign firm to launder its image. She said this is a clear indication that the president does not have confidence in the Ministry of Information and his media aides, whereas the Ministry of Information is manned by a seasoned professional led by a public relations expert who has in the last few years, it's very interesting that they actually praised the Minister of Information, who has in the last few years exhibited maturity and responsibility in the management of government information. Furthermore, we seek clarification from the presidency on the following. Was this contract budgeted for in the 2025 budget? Why was it done through a private law firm and not the Federal Ministry of Justice? What are the duties of the Information and Public Relations Officer in the diplomatic missions abroad? And what are the key performance indicators for this contract? What do you make of their questions? Do you think they're valid, or do you think that somebody should actually be getting to answer them?
I think their questions, some of their questions are also very mediocre.
Mediocre, why?
Yeah, because it's not the job of the Minister of Information to engage foreign governments. That is the job of the embassy working through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So it's disappointing that a political party doesn't even understand that basic information. It's not the job of the Minister of Information to send Nigeria abroad. No, that's why you have a Minister of Foreign Affairs and you have embassies. That is what we need to pay attention to, and that's what we need to stress. So that another president doesn't come and do the kind of thing that we have had. Now, over 2 years, we don't have ambassadors in the United States. Over 2 years, as we are speaking.
Well, that's the problem. We just appointed a few. Why is it taking us so long to assign them?
Because we don't have any options left. All we can do is to appoint them, get them confirmed, and then it will take the other country their own time to also go through it and sign the agreement. And that's the reason why our behavior has been quite a little below par. you know, to have to sit for 2 years on appointing ministers. And now we are releasing money ambassadors, I'm sorry. And now we are releasing money, $9 million, when some of the argument was that, oh no, there's not enough money. I don't even want to treat this matter because we need money. Suddenly you have $9 million to pay some Americans who will be drinking tea and having lunch and dinner in Washington, D.C. It's very profligate, you know, and it's saddening. Yeah, it's very saddening, you know, that the president is tolerating a lot of nonsense in his administration.
So whilst it is that, you know, we're still trying to, it would seem that we are making progress on one front with the Americans. 1 minute we have met with them, we've reached an agreement in terms of, you know, pushing the security cooperation, so to speak. This week, we saw the U.S. mission in Africa, you know, tell us that in furtherance of that cooperation, they're supplying military hardware. And we saw pictures being taken, you know, being delivered according to Nigeria and Nigeria's troops. However, you didn't see this ban. 72 countries, blanket ban. We're stopping the stuff on immigration. If it has to do with immigration visas, Nigeria happens to be among those 72 countries. What exactly is going? What's this cold, hot relationship we seem to be sharing with the U.S.? What exactly is going on?
Yeah, I mean, you're very right, Markwell, that, you know, the Americans are giving us conflicting signals. You know, on the one hand, you know, you had the Christmas Day bombing of terrorists, which gladdens the heart of many of us. I say, praise God, we have some kind of breakthrough. And then you have this issue of the visas, and they are tightening it up to the point now that they've suspended. You know, you can't even go to the American embassy to talk anything about visa because the entire process of visas is suspended. So if you don't have your visa already, you can't even go to the United States. You know, now, of course, we should take notice that it's about 72 countries that is affected, not just Nigeria. So it speaks to the overall approach of the Trump administration to some of these issues. And there are people who have all kinds of different perspectives to it. Some of Nigerians in the U.S. that I've spoken to after the news in New York said that, look, I mean, Mr. Trump is trying to reduce the number of Nigerians' influence in the United States because you have a lot of Nigerians doing great work in the United States, you know, doctors in places like Chicago. They say that you have more black doctors, and among them, majority Nigerians in Chicago than any other place. You know, and there are other places in the country where you have Nigerians doing excellent things. So there's the theory. This is a theory that, okay, well, you know, maybe the MAGA don't like the fact that you have these black people that are excelling. They want to stop it. I don't know.
Politicians are excelling as well. Why are they not on that list?
Well, you know, we have to look through very closely, you know. But what the Indians have done, you know, that we can also talk about is that I think they have managed to become not just in terms of image, but they have managed to establish themselves as an economic power in the United States. You know, a lot of the small businesses, you know, grocery stores, you know, places where you have small businesses, you have a lot of Indians and a lot of Pakistans that are there. So in terms of the economy, they are really, really solid. You know, we haven't quite gotten there. But the important point is that we need to urge Mr. Trump to stop giving us conflicting signals. You know, and I think it's important for our own leaders to see how can we chart a more formidable relationship with the Americans. Look, we need the Americans, no doubt about that. The Americans also need us. That's the truth. The Americans also need us. I mean, and this was the point that Professor Wariboko was making in my show on Friday, that look, what is happening in Venezuela, what happened to the Venezuela president, what the Americans did, and what the Americans did in Nigeria, there's a connection to it because they are trying to break the ranks and the influence of the Chinese, you know. And so Nigerians, the Nigerian government has to take advantage of that to open a new vista with the Americans. And we need to urge the Americans, led by President Trump, that, look, Nigeria is a special country, you know, globally, the biggest country among black people anywhere, and of course, holding a significant position in Africa. So they shouldn't be treating us, they just put us in a blanket ban all over the place, but it will take us also to assert ourselves. And I keep coming back to it, Mark, and I apologize. You don't have an ambassador in Washington, D.C. It's just heartbreaking. No, I remember Professor Adifuye late, God bless him. So did an excellent job, as ambassador of Nigeria in the U.S., that you will be proud. And even the Americans, they appreciated it. We have people, and where the list is how, let's hope that we can quickly sort it, because your ambassador on the ground can make a whole lot of difference. If you put the right person there, it can make a whole lot of difference. We can save this $9 million if we have a damn good person in Washington, D.C. as our ambassador.
Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Malpe. One of the questions that I keep, asking myself is, look, if we continue to position ourselves the way we do for the Americans to treat us the way we say they treat us, I wonder how, anyone would treat us any differently. For instance, the Rivers politics, it comes to mind. And the dynamics, I don't know what you make of it, Mr. Konde. The dynamics have changed since the governor moved from one political party to the other. Interestingly, all members, at least a good number of members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State, they are on the same political platform, and they are the ones moving for the governor to be impeached. So there are those, of course, who claim the voice of Jacob, the hand of Esau, but at the same time, what do you make of all of this?
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Ayo, for that question. A lot of things are changing, at least in Rivers State, when it concerns our politics. We don't even know anymore how party politics is meant to be played. FCT Minister Yesom Wike tells us that, look, in Rivers State, there is no PDP, no APC. There is only renewed hope agenda. A lot of confusion. You have a governor moves to APC, majority of the members of the House of Assembly have moved to APC, and then the same majority is now trying to impeach the governor. So a lot of confusion. The Rivers State politics is causing us a lot of even mental, conceptual challenges. That what's really going on? Is it PDP? Is it APC? APC and PDP are the same, and then APC National is saying something, Wike is saying another thing. It goes back to the point that, look, what is happening with Mr. Wike in Nigeria's politics is an absurdity. And let's speak to him. Mr. Wike, you can still redeem the situation. Look, make it very simple on yourself. Join APC. Okay? It is very clear. That is where your interest, that's where your quote-unquote treasure seems to be now. So, just bite the bullet. Join APC and save all of us this embarrassment, and save your state, the people that you love, this absurdity of you are here and you are there and you are saying that, okay, there are no political parties here. It's a lot of confusion, okay? Mr. Wike, you can still redeem the situation. But let's speak also to the House of Assembly members. You guys, yes, it is true that Mr. Wike paid your nomination form, possibly paid for your campaign, paid your way into the House of Assembly. That is a fact. He has told us that on national TV. But then you are individuals and you are independent. You swore to an oath of allegiance to the state. Why don't you prioritize the peace, the prosperity of your state ahead of whatever Mr. Wike is asking you to do? It's so sad that you have an assembly that is so ready, so ready to launch the state into confusion. And let's also talk to Governor Fubara. Now, if it is true that what Fubara is doing is trying to resist somebody from snuffing life out of Rivers State, trying to get a lot of money, good job. But hey, find common ground. Find common ground with your godfather. Sort out the issue. Of course, we don't want somebody to be taking all the money of the state if that is what is happening, and you're trying to prevent that you are doing a good job that way. But find common ground with him and restore stability, restore some prosperity to Rivers State. This stagnancy in Rivers State is not good for anyone. It's not good for you, Governor Fubara. It's not good for Nyesom Wike. It's not good for the House of Assembly members. It's not good for the entire state. Let's get done with it.
Do you see the impeachment proceeding proceeding beyond where it has now? We understand that more lawmakers are now in the House of Assembly are now calling for restraint, which they hitherto, before now, they had backed the impeachment proceedings, but now they tend to be having iffy feelings about it. So do you see the process going through, both politically and legislatively?
Yeah, that's a breath of fresh air, and it's good. I think we have about 4, House of Assembly members now. It's the first set of 2, another set of 2. I think female, 2 female, 2 males. So it is good that some reason is prevailing, some good judgment, some common sense is coming to the fore, in trying to resolve this thing. What the members of the House of Assembly ought to realize, and 4 of them have already demonstrated it, and we are very thankful for that, for that independent thinking, for that public interest approach. What the House of Assembly in Rivers State ought to realize is that when a governor is behaving the way that you guys allege that he has behaved, the next thing for you to do is not to go and launch, an impeachment proceeding, and you have the speaker, Amewele, doing drama on the TV trying to tell us that he's hungry. No. Mr. Amewele, you are the speaker, you are the head of the assembly in Rivers State. Try and act as an independent person. You bear your own name. Try and see what you can do as an individual. Forget who sponsored you. Look at the interest of the state. Make a move towards the governor and sit down and sort these things out. It shouldn't be difficult for you guys to do it. And ultimately, it is Mr. Wike that we must call on to, because he is the one that is spinning all of this stuff. It's important to remind him that, look, he's not the first governor. Wike is not the first governor who is trying to hold, control of his state after he has left office. But you cannot be doing a Jankara fight. You cannot be doing Ijaigoro street fight with somebody, with your own godson. That's not how to do it. You have to manage the public aspect and deal with him privately, and you must be able to compel him privately or reach some kind of consensus privately. We don't need all this public drama, because the governor, even though you nominated him, he has sworn to an oath in his own name. So you can't be coming out and be ridiculing him because you nominated him, because you sponsored him. No, that's between the 2 of you, and you can sort it out privately. That was what President Tinubu did when he had issue with Fashola for the 2nd term. It happened in this country. Did you ever see President Tinubu go into the public and be ranting against Fashola? No, they sat down behind the doors, and sorted their differences. And Fashola got the 2nd term, and guess what? After that, Tinubu maintained his position as the leader of the party in Lagos State. We didn't see all this drama. Mr. Wike, you need to end this drama today.
I was just going to ask, do you think that's because when you look at what it is, let us remove the previous battles that have gone on in Rivers State, even though it's hard to dissociate those battles from what is currently happening. But when you look at what it is that the lawmakers are saying at face value, they are alleging that the governor is in breach of the Constitution, that as they speak, the 2026 budget has not been presented, that certain appropriations are already, or like say some spendings are already going on, and they're asking the governor, from whence are you getting the funds that you're spending? We are asking you to bring the budget to us. Why is that so difficult on the face value of things to get it sorted?
Absolutely. That shouldn't be difficult. And that's why I'm saying that, look, if those are the arguments of the House, those are legitimate questions. What we are saying is that you don't then bring the nuclear bomb. And that's not the next thing to do. You don't bring the nuclear bomb and destroy everybody and every place because of those legitimate issues. we all know that the reason is because somebody is behind calling the shots. It's as simple as that.
So you believe that a call for impeachment is a nuclear bomb?
I think so.
You think that it could be?
I think so, and it's very irresponsible. Look, how many months has the guy even spent? The guy, I mean, both of them, the governor and the House of
You're just been belly called back.
Yes, Ali. Come on.
We're already at this point again. So really big questions to ask there. But then it also goes to ask, you know, again, what exactly is their commitment to peace? What exactly is the commitment of all the parties? Because every now and again, we saw the president, you know, intervene the first time. Again, we're seeing the president intervened with a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And they all said, oh, we've learned our lessons. We have shooting our sword. The governor spoke very nicely and all of that. Then we now see this move, his defection to the APC and, you know, all the talks of you not following corner love and all those kinds of shots that were really unnecessary. I mean, he's not exactly been quiet in all of this. So you see that, and then there are questions as to what exactly is the commitment to peace by all the actors in Rivers State. Clearly, there are also external factors when you look at the fact that the president, I beg your pardon, the governor has now defected to the All Progressives Congress.
Right.
Clearly, you know, also dissing his former godfather. The questions as to what exactly is the commitment of all of the actors in this to peace?
You nailed it on the head, Mark, where, you know, we haven't seen a demonstrable pursuit of peace and prosperity of Rivers State, you know, prioritizing the welfare of the people in all of this. It's all about the interest of the godfather, the godson, you know, being disobedient to the godfather, and then the House of Assembly becoming tools in the hand of the godfather to cause this trouble for the governor. But hey, this trouble is not just for the governor. This trouble, you are rendering Rivers State stagnant. You are saying that, no, Rivers State, I'm going to hold you in the jugular until this guy does what I want. That is what Wike is doing. And Wike is the one that we must continue to call out.
Right. It's a fair place to leave it, or we shall leave it right there. Mr. Laolu Akonde is a former presidential aide and certainly brings the presidential side to things. And also the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources. Thank you once.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's where we'll wrap it up on Sunrise Daily this beautiful Thursday morning. Don't forget, it's the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and the ceremonies at the cenotaph, the tomb of the unknown soldier, will be on any moment now. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogunyuse.
Once again, congratulations to the Super Eagles. I'm Ayo Makinde. Business Morning is next. Have a wonderful day.